Power is a drug. Power and experiencing power in a group of human beings, like that can be something that's incredibly elating. Like something that feels great. What is humility, right? What is the ability to actually know what you're worth and still stay grounded? How do you do that in life? Why is it useful? If we don't have humility, chances are we're going to be perceived as assholes when we're not. However, if we're too humble, chances are we're going to be run over by people that have a higher level of energy than we do. Humility is grace in life. Grace is that thing that we get after we figured out the bare basics of what we are good at doing and how we can actually engage with people to make them feel cared for. So humility for me is like a must. My name means Turab. Turab means soil in Arabic. And to me, there's nothing more humble on the planet than soil is, right? It's like this thing that's everywhere. It gives a ridiculous amount of life and resources to everything else around it. And at the end of the day, like no one pays attention to it, right? We just walk on it and we play on it, fly kites and shit on it, you know? But it's so important. It's like humility is that thing that separates people that want to do business with you and people that don't want to do business with you, right? It's that thing that says, okay, you know a lot, sure, but you're also comfortable with taking input. You're also comfortable with learning more. You're comfortable with the idea that you're not a perfect organism and that it's okay that you're not a perfect organism. Whenever I think of my life of the people that I want to spend the most time with, it's always the people that are more humble. And it's because those people just are easier to be around. They're less abrasive, right? They tend to listen longer. They actually have phenomenal ideas. And when you parse through kind of their veils or facades, you get these beautiful moments of connection. You know, where I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but there's been times in my life where I'll be sitting having a conversation with someone and our egos are completely gone. And I almost feel like a warm, tingling sensation, like, damn, like we're having like a really deep, awesome conversation, right? That happens most often, in my opinion, with people that are really humble. Now, it's not to be confused with people that are stupid or people that don't know what they're doing, right? I think humility kind of goes in the realm of being taken for granted a lot of the time. And believe me, I've been there. And there's a lot of circumstances in life where you should just kind of be taken for granted, like for people that you unconditionally love, kind of an important human characteristic to have. But for the most part, humility comes from execution. Humility comes from exploring more. I made a video actually before about fear and taking risk. Humility comes from taking risk because you fall flat on your fucking face, right? Like you hurt yourself taking risks. You learn more about life taking risks. And when you're on that same piece of ground that a child is walking placefully on, you know that you've destroyed your knee on that same piece of ground, so you know you're going to be chilling and actually watching what's going on, right? That makes for a more humble human being. Kids, for the most part, aren't very humble, right? It's a perfect example of what not to do as an adult, to still have that playfulness and to listen and to care. That's a graceful thing. And I wanted to take a second to define kind of what grace means in my head. Grace is one of those things that it's like the space in between in life. It's like the meditation, the spiritual aspect of life. It's like the when you have 15 minutes to yourself and you're in a beautiful location, do you go on your phone or do you actually appreciate that you have that location? Grace is knowing when someone's wrong and not completely deflating them in a moment where they should have the attention or they should have the affirmations, right? Grace is this thing that people really, really undervalue, but as you move higher and higher up in the success ladder, it's something that people can very acutely pick up because it's something that's so nuanced that it takes very conscious metacognition effort to build up. So when it comes down to actually winning in life, have a fucking big ego. That's what I'm saying. Like humility isn't this whole letting go of what you're good at and letting people walk over you even if you have the intuition required to actually get success. Like that's not humility, right? Don't assume that the person that's just sitting there saying nothing and doesn't have any great ideas, that they're being humble. They're just stupid. Okay? Like that's just the reality. Like they haven't done the work, they don't know the answers, right? But the person that's sitting in the back that waits for everyone to go through and present their examples and then says, "Well, did you think about it this way? Or have you tried doing this?" And they actually have a track record of that thing working for them. That's humility, right? That's a whole different game. So, in terms of like, dude, that's the reason we get wins, to feel good about ourselves, right? To actually have, when we're going and talking to girls and stuff, be like, yeah, dude, I accomplished shit, or like, yeah, I can run like a 6 minute mile, or I did an Ironman, or like I was the content manager for this company that grew up to be a $1 billion company. Like, yeah, like I did that shit. And when someone steps on your shit, to be like, no, like back up. Like you don't know what you're talking about. And there's been a lot of circumstances in my life where, I mean, more and more like recently, because I'm actually like carving away at my soul, and I'm like trying to get better at shit. Where when people say stuff, I'm just like, nah, like that ain't it. It's not been the case for me, at least, and I've gotten some wins here. So in school, in dental school, I used to get really upset at administration, and I realized that sending angry emails is the stupidest thing that you can ever do as a professional, okay? Do not, do not be in a highly emotional state and send an email. I'll give you an example. I sent this like really like technically worded, kind of on the nose email to like my dean and my administration, and they sent me an email back, and they're like, bro, like the entire like major section of why you think you're correct is just factually incorrect. And right then and there, I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. Like you should have just slept on it for like 3 seconds, actually observed it for like 3 seconds, right? That is a circumstance of me drastically failing, and the repercussion is dwindling my relationships with people that I actually want to be on the same side with. I was like never an argumentative person. I wanted to help build the school, right? We can lose allies by not being humble. So when it comes down to being perceived as graceful, waiting your turn to say the right thing, great. Most of the time though, this is the thing that parses all of it out for me, is attention is power. Attention is power. There's also another quote that I love. Don't do drugs that are harder than you, because the hangover in the morning will crush you. Okay? So when you put these two things together, it's like, okay, power is a drug. Power and experiencing power in a group of human beings, like that can be something that's incredibly elating. Like something that feels great. And so it's very important to know how to use your power. It's very important to be like, I know I can be funny in these circumstances. I know I can be a little aggressive in these circumstances, and that I've gotten wins out of doing that. You need to know how to flex that muscle when it's required. That's important. Now, will people perceive you as not being humble in those circumstances? Sure. But you got to remember also, there's the initial point of impact, right? The introduction that you have with someone that you really want to spend time with, the introduction you have with a group of people. The point of impact is, I want attention. Okay, fine, I've gotten the power. Now how will I use the power, right? That's when humility comes in. To say, okay, I made my point. People looked at me weird. There's like some weird circumstances going on here. But now I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen to how that's affected the crowd, right? I'm going to listen to people that are giving me feedback about the thing that I just said. And people, the more graceful someone is, in my opinion, they'll pick up on your ability to not only use that power in the instantaneous second, but also to your ability to sit back and observe and still be humble. Like to say, hey, I just presented some shit that you might not be particularly happy with coming to terms with, but I am totally down to hear out your perspective if it's not ridiculous, right? I'm totally down to sit here and have a positive argument about this thing and to have a debate about this thing. So that's kind of what I would say is, lean on the side of definitely listening more. But when it comes to attention equaling power, you want to figure out how to use your individual power. You want to figure out how to get a room of people to pay attention to you in a way that is authentic to yourself. You want to figure out a way to stand out in someone's perception of what it means to be human so that they give you a call later on, right? Those moments aren't humble, but the range of your character, the range of your ability to sit back and be graceful, that's what determines your humility, not those instantaneous things, right? Because dude, I'm stupid in like thousands of things. Like I don't know what the hell I'm talking about for most of life almost, you know? So I'm not gonna sometimes I make some outlandish claims just to get a laugh, just to get people to open up, just to break the ice in rooms of like very sophisticated people. They're not used to hearing a doctor swear. And I'm like, that's me, bro. Like, get over it. That's not a humble statement. But that also means that when someone's coming and addressing things like that or having that conversation, and I'm like, hell yeah. Like, cool, man. I love your perspective. Yeah, it's powerful, but it's intertwined very closely with being a graceful human being. And that means a lot of the graceful anecdotes that I've gotten in my life are actually quotes from people like Teddy Roosevelt or, Alexander the Great or Marcus Aurelius or, any of these like great poets, the prophets. You can study the Bible, you can study the Quran, any of the other religious texts. They are the epitome of what it means to have power and know when to use it. But overall, their lives are ones of humility because people have seen them over a stretch of circumstances and seen their ability to pay attention, to listen, but then to execute. It's a respect thing too. And this is the last thing that I'll say. Humility is a respect thing, right? We respect people that are humble, not because of their ability to just listen, but because of their ability to execute, right? Someone that just sits around and doesn't say anything and also doesn't accomplish anything, we don't respect their humility. Someone that does a lot of shit and then sits around and listens and has gotten a lot of wins, we're like, wow, that person's humble, in like a good way because they know how to get the wins. Very, very important. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. Take care of yourself. If you want more of this stuff in your feed, go ahead and subscribe down below, like and comment. Let me know if maybe I got humility wrong. Shit, I don't know everything. Peace.